John Flanagan, and I've been 80 years in Dutchess County.
John Flanagan, former sports editor of the Poughkeepsie Journal, fell in love with sports at a young age. He started playing ball just about 5 or 6 years old and was a part of many of the local organizations in the Poughkeepsie area.
5, 6 years old, we were playing. My father was an athlete and a ball player and an umpire, and he coached Little League. And we went to Little League, my older brother and I, and later Junior League, and then Senior League. During the late 40s and 50s, I was the ball boy for the Millbrook Interstate Baseball League, a semi-pro league. And when I was like 22, I was secretary treasurer and director of umpires of that Interstate Baseball League, which was top-notch baseball, almost Class A. So, no, I've always enjoyed baseball, but all sports. Big golf fan, played a lot of golf all over the country. Still follow baseball and golf more than any other sports.
While John's love for sports started young, his journey to working in sports was not something he dreamed about. At the time, John was planning to go into the Army until an injury prevented him from joining, leading him to an illustrious 48-year career in sports.
Tell you that I didn't know I was going to be a sports writer. After I attended Dutchess Community College, I had to go and take a test in Albany for the Army because they were inducting people for Vietnam. And I went to Albany, and as a fluke, the sergeant called me in and said, you got the highest marks out of all the people, 2 busloads from Poughkeepsie. How'd you like to go to officers candidate school? I said, fine, I'd love to. Well, you have to go downtown in Albany to a specialist to be a complete physical. He doesn't work for us, he's independent. So they got a taxi, took me down there. He checked me all over, and he saw this big scar on my knee where I got hurt as a young kid playing ball. And he says, what's with the leg? And I told him, and he said, does it bother you? And I said, once in a while, but nothing I can't deal with. And he looked at me and he says, tell me the truth. Do you want to go in the Army? And I was kind of, hesitant. Is this a trick question? He says, no, I don't work for the Army. He says, do you want to go in the Army? And I said, no. He said, wait in the other room. I went in the other room and he gave me papers I took back. The sergeant calls me in and says, John, I'm sorry, we can't take you in the Army. You have too serious a knee problem. And then I was free to do what I wanted to do. And I happened to be a couple weeks later, I had been job searching. I ran into my high school superintendent and principal on the street, and he asked me what I'm doing. I said, I'm looking for a job. And he says, well, you got all A's in English, you played every sport there was. He said, I'm a good friend of the editor at the Poughkeepsie Journal, and I'm going to have lunch with him Monday. Suppose I recommend you to him. They're looking for a sports writer. Yeah, sure, why not? I went in, got interviewed, and got hired, and wound up a total of 48 years there. But it was, like I said, strictly accidental and lucky.
John started at the Journal from the ground up, working his way up to sports editor for the last 12 to 14 years of his time there.
Well, I was 2 years as an assistant, like a cub writer, and my boss got fired, and they called me in and said, your boss has been fired, can you run things till we hire somebody? I said, I've been doing it for a year. He was an alcoholic, and they finally let him go. They couldn't get him to stop drinking, and I had been doing it for a year. They said, all right, we're gonna give you a three month test. I said, okay. 3 months later, I went in and said, "What's going on? Are you going to hire a sports editor?" "Well, we've decided to offer it to you if you want it on a 90-day trial." So anyway, they said, "You'll get a raise." So I took over, and I just wound up there in sports for 12, 14 years as sports editor. Every day was busy. Dutchess County then had everything going on. Little League, softball, girls softball, field hockey, tennis was getting big, golf was big in Dutch. Every day was a new day. Whatever you did yesterday, you forgot about. And then we covered high school and college here. We had Marist and Vassar teams and everything, and every day was a new day.
John covered every sport imaginable, and while every day was different, he enjoyed covering baseball the most. Some of his noteworthy career moments include him meeting sports legends such as Yogi Berra and Arnold Palmer.
Well, my favorite thing covering naturally was baseball, because I had been so many years in it, and golf, because I played so much. But I don't know if I could say there was any one thing I liked. I enjoyed it all. It was a great life. I had a lot of funny incidents, and I met a lot of people personally, like Yogi Berra, many major league ball players, several Arnold Palmer, and many of the top golfers over the years. Everything was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, being I started so young and I learned from the bottom up, I was very lucky. I had mentors at the Journal helping me, and I had great rapport with the coaches in the area, and they were a big help. They knew what I wanted, I knew what they wanted, and I was busy all the time. Sports were going, it was a 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year job.
While John does not write anymore, he's still very active in the community, as he is a board member for both the Sports Museum and the Dutchess County Baseball Hall of Fame. He's also still very active in Millbrook and their Sports Historical Society, and he watches golf, baseball, basketball, and tennis regularly. For John, though, places like the Sports Museum are important staples to the Dutchess County community to keep alive the legacy of sports legends and history.
Well, things have changed a lot. Like I said, years ago, every village or town in Dutchess County had teams in baseball, softball, and other sports. Here in Poughkeepsie, they had softball leagues, baseball leagues, little leagues, junior leagues. And what I feel so bad about, almost all of that stuff is gone. The kids today are more interested in their iPod than they are in sports. In fact, many of the schools in Dutchess County can't even get enough kids to play baseball or football, because soccer came along. A lot of kids went to soccer, lacrosse, cross country, many other things. And many of the top sports that were during my height have actually faded out. And the city of Poughkeepsie used to be a great sports town. Everything was going on every night of the week. There was softball, baseball, and stuff going on, men and women. It's all gone today. It's a very important place, because that's where all these things that we're talking about right now, you can go and see pictures and stories, and without it, there is no history of sports in Dutchess County. We are it, the Sports Museum of Dutchess County.